Hello and welcome to Creating with Shannon. I am Shannon and I'm thrilled to bring you my Santa and his reindeer DIY Christmas sign using a bunch of IOD products and Decoupage Queen Winter Forest rice paper. So let's get started. I had this big picture that I got from the thrift store, and it has Paris because I recently visited Paris and I just loved it, but it doesn't really go with anything in my home, so I decided this would be the perfect backdrop. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the background white, because when you use decoupage paper, the background can come through, so if you just paint it white, it'll make the decoupage paper pop and you won't see anything but the design that you're supposed to see. So I decided to use Winter Forest by Decoupage Queen. This is size A2. I just thought that this would be the perfect backdrop for Santa and his reindeer. Now, it doesn't quite fit my picture, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the edges with the scissors that are going to touch the flat part of the frame. And then on the one part of the frame where I'm going to have to blend, I'm going to go ahead and tear those edges. Now that my paper is ready to put on the picture, I'm going to just put a little bit of the decoupage medium on, and I'm going to smear it and smooth it out with my brush. You want to make sure it's a nice even coat. Then I'm going to gently put the rice paper on, grab some of the cellophane saran wrap, and gently push my paper out, getting rid of all the wrinkles, and then I'm going to do it for the bottom part of the paper. This is a big paper, so sometimes it's easier to do it in two sections. Always starting at the middle and working your way out. After the paper is down, now you want to go ahead and give it a nice even coat on top to make sure the paper is smooth and it's glued down and all your edges are down. Okay, let's have some fun. Check out the new Santa Sleigh mold by IOD in their 2024 Christmas release. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to put some cornstarch in so it'll pop out easier, because there is some intricate details up by the packages. So I just want to make sure, just to save time. You can also pop in the freezer for 15 minutes and then demold it, but I didn't want to wait, so I just put the cornstarch in. Make sure you use that lip so you can get a good definition of your mold and your casting, so when you pull it out, it doesn't have any extra clay. Now that it's out, when you look at the Santa sleigh, there's some flowers on his sleigh, and for this project, I'm not a big fan of it, so what I simply did was I just took my finger and put in some water, and then I just kind of smoothed the flowers away, just because I just didn't feel that it went with this project. It will look very nice on other projects, but just it wasn't for this one. After I got the sleigh the way I wanted to look, I grabbed my glossy red acrylic paint and gave Santa a sleigh and all of his packages a coat of the red paint. And then the bottom for the sleigh part, I used some black. I'm going to use some decorative waxes later, but this is just for the base coat. Next, it was time to do the reindeer. I needed 5 cast with resin, and then I needed 4 with clay. Normally, I like to use the resin when you have to deal with the legs of a creature or the antlers, but I decided I would use my silicone oil, and I just kind of brushed it on through the part of the mold I needed, the reindeer, and put the clay in, and then when I went to pop it out, it came out with ease. None of the antlers stuck or his hooves, everything came out great. And one application of the silicone oil allowed me to pop out 4 reindeer without having to reapply. So I needed to practice my layout real quick, so I put my 4 resin reindeers out, and then I grabbed one of my air dry clay ones, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer them, and the air dry clay will just wrap around the resin and be able to stick to the back of the painting. So that's why I did 4 clay and 5 resin. So then I gave the resin one some primer, and then I decided I was going to use this metallic brown paint, and I painted all my reindeers. And while all the reindeer were drying, I decided I was going to go ahead and blend the paint. So I just chose some of the colors that were in the background and layered them and played, and I finally got a look that I liked. Now here's the fun part. I am ready to glue them on, so I wanted to lay them out again. And since my sleigh was still drying, I used a plastic one that I had already cast, the one that has the flowers on it. So I just used it as a placeholder. But right now I'm going to glue them. I'm using heavy body gel because that really fills in the gap and it really makes whatever you put on something stick. I decided that it needed more, so I grabbed the Oh Christmas tree mold from last Christmas release, and I did 2 resin trees, and then I did some with the clay. Now, because this is such a giant tree, you can actually just make whatever size tree you want. So I made 3 different size trees out of clay. I chose clay because it's easier to make the smaller sizes. Also, I can lay them over the resin if I wanted to layer the trees. Then I made the bottom of the tree. You can't forget that part because that's a very important part of a tree. So now I'm going to go ahead and paint the trees and then allow them to dry. And then I'm going to stick them on my picture. While the trees are drying, I'm going to use some decorative waxes. I used gold, and then I used some white and some green and blue to highlight the packages. Then I'm going to go with some gold and do the reindeer's antlers. I'm going to do their harnesses and their hooves. It's all about the details, so I knew I had to glue on some gold reins because all the reindeer are tied together so they can pull Santa's sleigh. Now this has to be my favorite part. I bought a little light. I'm going to drill a hole, paint it red, and it will serve as Rudolph's nose. Now that Rudolph has a nose, I'm going to go ahead and glue the trees on. I have a total of 5, so I'm going to kind of balance them over to the right because that's where I think, for me, aesthetically, that's where they need to go. I'm glad that I made different sizes because if I had them all the same size, it would not look aesthetically pleasing. And there's my little baby one, and now we just need to let them dry. And of course, we cannot forget to put on the bottom of the trees. Now, because it is winter, we need to add some snow. So I'm putting some snow paste on with a palette knife. I'm just going to spread it around the bottom and then the base of the trees. After I get that the way I like it, I'm going to go ahead and apply it to the trees. Just start at the top and make a motion and go down. And it should just kind of touch on the tips of the trees to make it look like it has fresh snow that has fallen on the trees. Because there is snow on the trees, I decided that I needed to go ahead and add some snowflakes to the entire picture. So I'm just using my teeny weeny Decoupage Queen stencil brush and the snow paste, and I'm just dabbing it here and there. And then I decided my trees were too green, all one color, so I added a little bit of the antique umber and the antique black gel and used some blue that I blended in and just kind of painted the frame, and now I'm done. Look at this. Look at his little nose. Isn't it just adorable? Well, if you like this, please like and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. I appreciate it.